The Galactic Council chambers had never witnessed such silence. Ambassador Keth of the Verdani shifted uncomfortably in his crystalline chair, his forearms fidgeting with the data pad that contained humanity's final response. Across the circular assembly, representatives from 47 species watched the empty human delegation seats with growing unease. A simply ... left? Chancellor Voss of the Altarian Empire asked, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. The question hung in the air like a toxic cloud, unanswered and unwelcome. Ambassador Keth nodded slowly. 3 standard cycles ago, Ambassador Blake stood at this very podium and delivered humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Peace Accords. No negotiation, no compromise. They packed their belongings and departed for human space. The Tellurian representative, a serpentine being named Syl, coiled tighter around his speaking platform. Surely they were bluffing. Humans have always been dramatic in their negotiations. No bluff, Keth replied, his voice heavy with regret. They've recalled every human diplomat, every trade representative, every cultural attach. The soul system has gone completely silent. 3 months earlier, the Council had been celebrating what they believed was their greatest diplomatic victory. The human territories, despite their military prowess and technological advancement, had been systematically isolated through a series of carefully orchestrated trade embargoes and diplomatic sanctions. The Council had grown tired of humanity's stubborn independence, their refusal to conform to established galactic norms. They were too aggressive, Chancellor Voss had declared then. Too unpredictable. They needed to be taught their place in the galactic community. The plan had been elegant in its simplicity. Cut off human access to rare minerals from the outer rim, restrict their shipping lanes through Council space, and gradually strangle their economy until they begged for readmission under more favorable terms. What could one species do against 47 united worlds? Now, staring at the emergency sessions agenda, they were beginning to understand. The Corvin mining stations, Syl began, his voice trembling. They've gone dark. All 17 of them. Chancellor Voss leaned forward. Pirates? No distress signals, no debris, no survivors. They simply ... vanished. The orbital platforms, the asteroid mining rigs, the processing facilities. Gone. A low murmur rippled through the assembly. The Corvin mining stations were considered impregnable, protected by the finest defensive systems Council technology could provide. Ambassador Keth consulted his datapad. It's not just the Corvin stations. The Nexus Trade Hub reported a complete system failure 3 days ago. Their entire computer network was corrupted beyond repair. The financial records of 1,000 worlds wiped clean. The Tellurian representative uncoiled slightly, his scales shimmering with nervous energy. The humans had access to those systems. They helped design the security protocols. They had access to many things, Keth agreed grimly. We invited them into our homes, our businesses, our governments. We thought we were civilizing them, teaching them to be more like us. Instead, they were learning everything about how we function. Chancellor Voss stood, her imposing figure casting a shadow across the chamber. You're suggesting they're conducting acts of war against the Council? I'm suggesting they're conducting acts of war without firing a single shot. Keth corrected. No human vessel has been detected in Council space. No human weapon has been discharged. Yet our infrastructure crumbles, our commerce fails, and our communications networks suffer mysterious breakdowns. The reports continued throughout the session. The agricultural world of Greenfall had experienced a catastrophic failure of its atmospheric processors, turning a garden paradise into a toxic wasteland overnight. The Altarian Military Academy had discovered that their tactical computers had been feeding false data to their officers for months, rendering their entire strategic doctrine obsolete. How? Chancellor Voss demanded. How are they accomplishing this? Ambassador Keth's expression was grim. We taught them to be like us, but we forgot they were still human. While we focused on ceremony and protocol, they focused on results. While we built committees and bureaucracies, they built solutions. We thought their crude directness was a weakness to be corrected. Instead, it was a strength we never understood. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. For decades, the council had viewed humanity as useful but unrefined, like a talented student who needed guidance to reach their full potential. They had never considered that humanity might have been studying them in return. They're not random attacks. Syl observed, his voice barely above a whisper. Every target, every failure, it's all connected. They're dismantling the council's ability to function as a unified body. What do they want? Chancellor Voss asked. Keth activated his display, showing a simple message that had appeared simultaneously on every council world exactly 1 hour ago. The words were brief and unmistakably human in their bluntness. You wanted us to learn our place. We have. Our place is not with you. The silence that followed was deafening. The assembled representatives began to understand the scope of their miscalculation. They had not been dealing with a single stubborn species that needed to be brought to heel. They had been dealing with humanity, and humanity had been waiting patiently for them to reveal their weaknesses. So what happens now? Asked the Corvin. Delegate, his mechanical voice tinged with something approaching fear. Ambassador. Keth closed his datapad and looked around the chamber at the faces of beings who had ruled the galaxy for millennia. Now we learn what the galaxy looks like without human maintenance, human innovation, and human protection. We discover what we've lost. Outside the chamber windows, the first reports were already arriving. The outer rim colonies were going dark. One by one, their defensive systems failing without warning. The great trade routes that connected the galaxy's economy were experiencing navigation failures that seemed to target only Council vessels. Humanity had walked away from peace, and now the Council was beginning to understand the true cost of their arrogance. They had wanted to teach humanity its place in the galactic order. Instead, they had learned their own.